Meadows 10 for 24 on the year.
Coming up, small businesses are facing a $2 billion cut. New York travelers react to the recent news regarding masks, and soccer star Cristiano Ronaldo announces some tragic news. All this and more as PS News starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for joining us on this busy Tuesday night. I'm Benny Nazai.
And I'm Michael DeMarco. Let's take a look at some news from around the nation.
Congress may take back a big chunk of the COVID relief funds it authorized last year to help small businesses. On the chopping block, $2 billion that hasn't yet been dispersed. The funds are a part of a larger $10 billion aid package that aimed to help business owners pay for new COVID vaccines, testings, and treatments. The funds were allocated but never spent, mainly left over from aid programs that have already expired. The Biden administration has asked Congress for more funding to continue the fight against COVID-19. Senate Republicans argue that any new funding must be fully offset by repurposing COVID relief money already passed by Congress. The $2 billion in question are part of a long-term aid program meant to help small businesses as the economy rebounds. Some states say the cut in federal funding could severely limit the aid they are able to provide their business owners, especially since they were expecting to receive those resources.
Uber riders and drivers can leave their masks at home. Tuesday, the ride service company announced that facial coverings are no longer mandatory in their vehicles. Uber officials emailed users saying they revised their policy after the masking order from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention expired. This comes after a federal judge in Florida recently struck down the Biden White House's mask mandate for public transportation. Shortly after Uber's decision, Lyft followed suit and ended its mask requirements.
John Eastman, a lawyer for former President Donald Trump, is still holding on to thousands of documents wanted by the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th siege on the U.S. Capitol. That's according to a court filing from this week. Eastman was one of Trump's attorneys who tried to block the results of the 2020 election. Eastman says about 36,000 pages worth of information needs to stay confidential because they include legal communications with the former presidents. A federal judge will decide if those pages can remain under wraps. Prior to this week's filing, Eastman had been ordered to turn over 100 documents to the committee. Eastman's efforts to keep them under wraps were unsuccessful.
A former advisor to President Donald Trump on Friday asked a federal judge to dismiss his criminal contempt of Congress case. Among the bevy of reasons Steve Bannon provided for why his case should be dismissed, he claimed the congressional subpoena they received was invalid because of the makeup of the House Select Committee investigating January 6th, and argued that he was targeted to send a message. Bannon also argued that his actions were necessary in order to protect the former president's ability to shield information under executive privilege claims.
Sticking with the insurrection, a January 6th rioter who claimed he was ordered by then-President Trump to go to the Capitol has been found guilty on all charges. Dustin Thompson, a 38-year-old exterminator from Ohio, faced 6 charges after storming the Capitol, including stealing liquor and a coat rack from the building. He said he felt obligated to follow the former president's orders and got, quote, caught up in the moment. The trial marked the first time a Capitol riot defendant tried to convince a jury that Trump was responsible for the insurrection. Thompson's lawyer argued that Trump had incited the riot in his speech preceding the march to the Capitol, telling his supporters to, quote, fight like hell. The jury disagreed, finding Thompson a willing participant in the riots who was capable of making his own decisions. The most severe charge that Thompson was convicted of was obstruction of an official proceedings, which is a felony, and it carries up to 20 years in prison. He will be sentenced in July. Now coming up, a look at the weather near you. Stay with us, folks.
What am I looking at here? It's a spaceship. From where? From space? All right, people, let's hit these guys with some PSTV. Did not work. Probably because it's a TV station and not a laser.
Welcome back. I'm your meteorologist, Jason Lynch. Let's take a look at the weather near you. Ever hear of snow in April? Well, here you go. Tuesday we got snow and in the mid-40s with partly cloudy skies. And now Wednesday we got some more rain and high 40s and partly cloudy skies. And then Thursday we got more precipitation, so get ready to get your umbrellas out, and the low 50s. And then Friday we got partly cloudy skies, finally a day with no rain or snow, and in the low 50s. And then Saturday we got exactly 50 degrees with partly cloudy skies. That's all for the weather outlook for today. When we come back, a look at the news near you.
So TEAC is Tau Kappa Epsilon. It's a national fraternity. It's one of the biggest in the nation right now. We're about 37 guys. We do our best to serve the community that we are part of, and we really like to give back. In my opinion, what makes TEAC stand out is just the amount of leadership skills that you will develop as a TEAC. As time progresses, as you go through the rush process, you realize just like how genuine the people are in this organization.
Better men for a better world. Rush TEAC.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at some news closer to home. Something shocking is coming to New York City, and it's an electric building. JP Morgan Chase announced its new global headquarters, located on Park Avenue, will be fully powered by renewable energy. Officials say the tower will have a net zero operational emissions, partly by using power that comes from a state hydroelectric plants. Other green features include triple glazed windows and systems that store and reuse water, which should reduce consumption by around 40%. There will also be air filtration systems, indoor greenery, and touchless technology. The nearly 60-story skyscraper is scheduled to be completed by 2025.
Following news of many airlines making masks optional, travelers at one of the nation's largest airports have differing opinions on the subject of masking.
And I'm super excited.
More comfortable without a mask. I feel very safe, especially since airplanes are one of the safest indoor places. You know, I don't think masks are necessary.
Even in traveling here and being in downtown in New York and everybody able to not wear masks and things, I felt much more comfortable keeping mine on.
The masking changes come after a federal judge in Florida struck down the mandate. Renters are losing confidence they will ever own a home. According to a Federal Reserve Bank of New York survey released Monday, the average probability of owning a home at some point in the future tumbled to 43% this year. That's the lowest level since the New York Fed began asking the question in 2015. And only about a third of people surveyed with less than a bachelor's degree or who make less than $60,000 expect to ever own a home. That's down more than 10% from the past 2 years. 22% of the households in the NY Fed survey report they plan to buy a home, but now view renting as a better financial decision. Meanwhile, some people who had hoped to buy have been priced out of the market, forcing them to rent instead. That in turn has helped to drive up rental rates. Now coming up, a look at some New York baseball teams and how they did this past weekend. Stay with us.
Botany Club is a group of students who enjoy learning about and experiencing the natural world, especially plants, through various activities, trips, and service projects.
If you're interested in joining Botany Club, please join us at Hudson Hall on Tuesdays at 6 p.m.
And for more information, reach out to us on Instagram at Botanical Society Singing Plants. Hope to see you there.
Welcome back. I'm that sports guy, Jason Lynch. Let's take a look at some sports near you. Tragic news from football, or soccer player, former Cristiano Ronaldo. He announced on social media Monday that his newborn son, a twin, has died. Ronaldo saying in his post, "It is the greatest pain that any parents can feel." He continued, "Only the birth of our baby girl gives us the strength to live this moment. Our baby boy, you are an angel, and we will always love you." The Portuguese star announced in October that his partner, Georgina Rodriguez, was pregnant with twins. Monday's announcement was signed by both Ronaldo and Rodriguez. And now let's take a look at some games. The Diamondbacks recently traveled to Citi Field to take on the Mets. Let's take a look at how it went. And we got bottom of the 5, a 0-0 game right now. No scores yet, but Louis Gilmore trying to change that as he bunts it in the air. But Dalton Varsho says no and makes an amazing snag right there. And you don't see a catcher making a catch like that often. And now, top of the 6th, Yanni Hernandez drills one to second, and Louis Gilmore makes a great play for the final out of the inning to make the game remain scoreless. Now, bottom of the 6th, with a man on base, Eduardo Escobar hits a deep ball to right field, and Noah Ramirez for a score and an RBI double, and the Mets will go up 1. Now, bottom of the 6th, the Mets up by 1 and 2 men on base, but J.D. Davis wants more and lines one up to left center field off Noah Ramirez for an RBI single, and the Mets will go up 2-0. Now, bottom of the 7th, the Mets are now up by 3 with a man on base, but Pete Alonso hits one to the moon and back to the center field, and Matt Peacock for a 2-run home run. 5-0 Mets. Now, top of the 9th, the Mets are up by 5, and Edwin Diaz gets Seth Barr swinging, and it's a swing and a miss for the final out of the game. 5-0 Mets. Now let's take a look at the other New York team recently saw action, traveling to Baltimore this past Easter. And the kids are getting into the Easter spirit, as you can see here. But let's get to the game as Aaron Hicks hits one deep to center field on the first pitch of the game, but Ryan McKenna says no and makes a tumbling snag right there, and the game will remain tied at 0. Now Trey Mancini hits a deep liner to left center field, but Tom LaCarsto makes a crazy catch for the out, tied at 0. Look at that diving catch right there. Now we'll go to the bottom of the 8th, still scoreless. Rogan and Odar hits a single to center field, and that'll break the tie as Mountcastle and Trey Mancini will score. 2-0 Orioles. Now bottom of the 8th, Kelvin Gorez drills one to left field, and Robinson Chernos and Rogan Odar will get score. 4-0 Orioles. Now bottom of the 8th, George Mateo drills one to right field, and Kelvin Goraz will score. 5-0 Orioles, and they are having fun in Baltimore, shutting out the Yankees and winning the game against a rival. 5-0 Orioles win. That's all the sports news I have for today. Back to the desk with Mike and Benny.
Well, thanks, Jason. Bittersweet results there for New York's baseball teams. Good day if you're a Mets fan, not so much if you're a Yankees fan.
You know, I know we're in New York, but can we get some Red Sox games? Can we get some highlights for the Sox, please?
You always equate your Red Sox into everything. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for tonight.
For all of us here at PSTV, make sure to have a great night.
Runs in.